Listen up, because what went down on NBA Today regarding the Lakers' defensive concerns through 2 preseason games is going to make you realize that everything we feared about this roster's lack of perimeter athleticism and defensive ability is already showing up in exhibition basketball, and I'm not talking about typical preseason rust or guys getting back into game shape after a long offseason. We're talking about the Phoenix Suns and Golden State Warriors absolutely lighting up the Lakers from three-point range by jacking up threes with reckless abandon. We're talking about those long rebounds off missed threes leading to multiple offensive opportunities because Phoenix and Golden State have the athleticism and foot speed to track down loose balls, while the Lakers' slower-footed perimeter players can't keep up. And most critically, we're talking about how this has been a recurring problem for the Lakers dating back years, where opposing teams specifically game plan to take a ton of threes because they know they can win foot races against defenders like D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, and Rui Hachimura. When Malika Andrews set up the segment by showing film of Phoenix getting 3, 4, sometimes 5 field goal attempts on a single possession because they kept getting offensive rebounds, when the panel started discussing how the Lakers' transition defense has been statistically terrible since 2010, when they analyzed why Jared Vanderbilt needs to start and why a healthy Marcus Smart could solve nearly all of these defensive issues, I had to pause because this wasn't just preseason overreaction. This was identifying the exact systemic problems that could derail an otherwise talented roster if they're not addressed immediately. So I'm watching NBA Today during their post-preseason game coverage analyzing the Lakers' performance against Phoenix and Golden State. And you could feel the concern building throughout the panel because, while everyone understands you can't overreact to exhibition games, the specific defensive breakdowns and effort issues were eerily similar to problems that have plagued this franchise for years. Stephen A. Smith was visibly frustrated because these aren't new issues. These are the exact same concerns people identified all offseason about lack of perimeter athleticism and defensive ability that still haven't been adequately addressed. Let me paint you the complete picture of what really transpired during this extended segment that went extraordinarily deep into both the defensive problems and potential solutions. Because the surface-level Lakers defense looked bad in preseason headline completely misses why teams are specifically targeting LA's perimeter defenders by launching threes, how Jared Vanderbilt's hustle and energy in just 2 games has already made him an obvious starting lineup choice, why Marcus Smart's health and conditioning will literally make or break this team's defensive identity, and the uncomfortable reality that even with LeBron James and Luka Doncic and DeAndre Ayton on the roster, if you can't stop opponents from getting easy transition opportunities and second-chance points, you're going to struggle to compete for championships regardless of offensive firepower. Here's what's been painfully obvious even through just 2 preseason games. The lack of athleticism and perimeter defense that everyone worried about all offseason is real and glaring. When you watch the Suns and Warriors play against the Lakers, they're just lighting LA up from three-point range, launching threes with confidence and frequency. And here's the cascading problem that makes this so dangerous. What do long three-point attempts lead to? Long rebounds that carry them out toward the perimeter. And those teams have the exact athleticism and speed on the perimeter that the Lakers lack, which means they're tracking down those loose balls and getting second and third chances. Kendrick Perkins was breaking down film showing Phoenix specifically getting 3, 4, sometimes 5 opportunities to knock down a 3-ball on a single possession, and of course, eventually they're going to hit one just through sheer probability and volume. Teams have been doing this to the Lakers for multiple seasons now, and the statistical evidence is damning. LA's transition defense has been terrible since 2010, according to advanced metrics. The Lakers simply haven't been a good perimeter defensive team in quite some time, and opponents around the league absolutely know this, and game plan specifically to exploit it. So instead of working hard to get inside and attack the paint against size, teams just take a bunch of threes, and trust that their athletes can win foot races against slower Lakers perimeter defenders. When your primary perimeter defenders are guys who can't outrun their own shadows, let alone elite NBA athletes in transition, you're asking for trouble. Now, with the roster construction featuring Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and Rui Hachimura as perimeter players, opposing teams are looking at that and thinking, we can absolutely win foot races and get to loose balls before these guys. Friedrich, but here's the one genuinely bright spot that emerged from these two preseason games that has everyone on the panel excited. Jared Vanderbilt looks absolutely phenomenal, and every bit back to his 2023 form. His hustle, his energy, his rebounding, his defense, everything about his game looks restored to the elite level we saw during that brief period when he transformed the Lakers' defense. Max Kellerman was raving about Vanderbilt's three-point shot, which looks dramatically improved mechanically, noting that he's much more confident shooting it. The release is smoother and quicker, and you can genuinely see a pathway to him becoming a serviceable three-point shooter. Richard Jefferson was making this point, that Vanderbilt essentially just needs repetition and in-game reps to become comfortable shooting threes consistently at maybe 34–35%, which would be more than adequate. It's one thing to work on your shot in open gym settings during the summer, but it's entirely different to shoot with game pressure, with defenders charging at you, with hands in your face, with crowd noise and everything else. So Vanderbilt just needs those in-game reps to build confidence. But more than anything, it's the defense, hustle, rebounding, and athleticism where you're seeing immediate, massive impact. And because of that impact, Stephen A. Smith was emphatic that Vanderbilt absolutely has to be the starter, and it's not even close or debatable. He doesn't think there's any question right now about who should start alongside Luka, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, and DeAndre Ayton. It has to be Jared Vanderbilt. His size, his length, his athleticism, and his defense represent everything this Lakers team desperately needs. Whatever he provides offensively is just icing on the cake, just an added bonus on top of his core defensive value. The common concern people raise is whether Vanderbilt can handle heavy minutes given how much energy he expends, and the response to that is, you don't need to play him 30 minutes per game just because he's starting. There's no rule that says starters must play heavy minutes. You could literally start Vanderbilt, take him out a minute into the game, and not play him the rest of the night if you wanted to. We've seen this happen with other players maintaining consecutive games, started streaks by playing minimal minutes. So if Vanderbilt is best in that 15–20 minute range, where he can go maximum intensity, that's perfectly fine and manageable. Now, here's where the segment got interesting because the panel wanted to provide fair context before completely panicking about the defense. It's not entirely fair to judge the Lakers' rebounding and defense comprehensively, yet, because we haven't seen the full roster healthy and playing together. The rebounding concerns specifically might be overblown, because when you actually break down who's getting boards, the numbers look fine. DeAndre Ayton is probably going to average 10 rebounds per game. LeBron James, when he's back, will get another 8. Luka Doncic, for a guy who isn't hyper-athletic, solves a lot of those long ball rebound issues because he has an incredible nose for the basketball. Luka sees the shot go up and instinctively knows where the ball is going to land, and he's getting to that spot and beating people there through anticipation and positioning. So he's another guy contributing 8 rebounds per game. Just between Ayton, LeBron, and Luka, you're talking about 26 rebounds between the three of them. Add in Jared Vanderbilt getting 6 to 8, plus Austin Reeves chipping in 5, plus role players contributing, and suddenly the rebounding doesn't look nearly as concerning as the defense and lack of athleticism. And this is where the entire segment pivoted to the player who could genuinely make or break the Lakers' season, Marcus Smart. Because if Marcus Smart can stay healthy, which is admittedly a big ask based on his injury history the past few seasons, but if he can be healthy, and on top of that, if he can get back to being that defensive anchor and impact player, not necessarily Defensive Player of the Year Boston version, but solid, high-level defender Marcus Smart, suddenly all of LA's defensive problems could be solved. especially if DeAndre Ayton keeps buying in on defense like he has through 2 preseason games. Stephen A. was making this bold prediction that he actually thinks the Lakers might end up being a legitimately good defense, not necessarily top 10, but respectable. And if you combine that with what he believes will be a top 3 offense at worst, he wouldn't be shocked if they're clearly the #1 offense in basketball. Then as long as you're top 12 to top 15 defensively, you're going to be a legitimate championship contender. So really, a lot of this is going to come down to Marcus Smart's health, his conditioning, and whether he can get back to being that rebounder and defender and culture setter. Because now, what you can do is deploy several different lineup combinations where you have Marcus Smart and Jared Vanderbilt alongside DeAndre Ayton, and suddenly you have that defensive foundation supporting a Luka Doncic or LeBron offensively. You have enough offense because of how well Luka can generate looks, Vanderbilt being an effective slasher and cutter, role players spotting up, Ayton being a lob threat, and Luka just cooking. When Marcus Smart is healthy, the advanced metrics still show he's one of the better defensive players in basketball. So now you have that defensive versatility, that hustle, that grit, those dirty work plays that winning teams require. Add in what Gabe Vincent can provide defensively, and you start to see how a really quality defensive unit could be constructed. Jake LaRavia has shown some encouraging defensive signs, mixed with some concerning moments. But the key is, he doesn't need to be the guy defending the opponent's best player. If Vanderbilt is defending the best scorer, Marcus Smart defending the second-best player, then LaRavia can handle the third option, which is much more manageable for his skill set and experience level. Add in a bought-in DeAndre Ayton on defense, which we've seen glimpses of the last 2 games, and suddenly, the defensive potential starts looking significantly better. Here's what really emerged from this entire NBA Today segment. The Lakers are heavily reliant on Marcus Smart and Jared Vanderbilt being healthy and productive, because those 2 guys in particular are going to make or break the defensive identity. If they can get that version of Marcus Smart, who was an elite defender in Boston, combined with Vanderbilt looking like his 2023 self, and Ayton continuing to buy in defensively like he showed in Phoenix when they made the finals, this Lakers team could actually be very good defensively, despite all the preseason concerns.